on What the Heck's, your source for Warhammer Underworlds and under 30 upgrades that have either been unearthed or stolen by light fingers. I'm your co-host, Davey, and with me, I have my lovelorn co-host, Phil. How are you, Phil?
Love hurts, Davey. Love hurts.
So it does. And I have my unscrupulous captain of the high seas. Our guest here is Mike Prime. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing great, and that intro caught me completely off guard. I did not expect the creativity that was displayed in that intro. I'm doing really well. I'm super excited to be on the cast, and I was really excited to play a game with Phil. Spoilers.
All right. Well, that is our topic for today. We have one of our patented TM audio bat reps coming at you that is going to be Mike versus Phil. But we got a couple housekeeping things to do before that. For context, we are recording on May the 14th. We are in a relatively static time in the game, which is actually awesome given how much stuff it feels. It still feels dynamic, like there's still people exploring our crews, our respective crews. Mike, your co-host Thomas and our guys Skylar and Brian went up to the Alberta Classic, and they are going to be recording an episode on that coming up. That'll be coming out on Underworlds Underground, so keep an ear out for that. But in the meantime, we've just been having a blast trying out all the cool new stuff.
So many new things.
Yeah. So we are going to talk that bat rep. It's kind of a community shout out right there. You should keep your eyes out. By the time this releases, who knows whether that episode will be out, but keep your ear to the ground for Underworlds Underground because an episode is coming out there shortly. You guys get any other community shout outs to hit?
Yeah. I have a very brief one. Mm-hmm. I was listening to the Battle Mallet podcast the other day, and Jared dropped, as if it were no big deal, one of the best deck names I think I've ever heard. He's playing Skinnerkin with Tooth and Claw, and he's calling it Fork and Knife.
Oh, all right.
So shout out to Jared, continuing the legacy of great deck names.
It really is an underappreciated part of this game. I spend so much time trying to refine my Underworlds DB save deck names that occasionally I'm actually not sure what a deck actually is. I'm going through them. I'm like, well, I'm sure this was really clever when I thought of it, but I don't know what I have going on here. But yeah. Phil, you got anything?
Well, our good friend Skylar, as you mentioned, he was up at Alberta, and there he did battle with his favorite warband, Head Crackers, Fort Crackers, and he is actually going to be doing a love letter and deck breakdown on his channel over on YouTube, What the Decks, and he's going to do like full deconstruction of that deck to talk through like what it's about and why he loves it. So yeah, I think that should be a really fun one. I don't know yet if the video episode of that battle that he had against Thomas is going to be up yet. So
hopefully by the time this episode releases,
hopefully by the time this episode comes out, but
hopefully you will know whether this is a guide to if you want to make another attempt at stealing it, or if you are a new owner of Head Crackers, Fort Crackers, how you might use it.
Can I just say that there's a little bit of proud daddy going on right now because of the moment that I threw out the idea of Pink Slip in Discord and no one wanted to do it, and then Brian jumped on board and we all got super excited and did the first one and it was fun, and now it's happened again. And it just makes me so pumped up because of the epicness of some of these Pink Slip battles. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Man, I am kind of with you and kind of not. Like some part of my brain was like,
it's coming at you, Davey. It's coming at you.
Exactly.
You're losing something soon. Yeah. No.
Yeah. I'm already like looking through my collection. I'm like, what what will break my heart the least to lose,
Yeah.
which is not the way to think about it, because my castmates have been putting up like their most beloved stuff. So
Yeah,
I
their
don't know.
firstborn.
Yeah.
Well, I think kind of everyone has so far. I mean, Skylar did Fort Crackus. What did Thomas risk? Did he risk Domiton?
He did.
He did. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. So, and then Brian did his beloved and I did my beloved. I mean, that's just kind of how it's gone so far.
Yeah.
Gird yourself, young man.
I guess Fish is going to earn himself some Godsworn Hunt. So have fun with that. No, that's so hard to replace. I can't. How could I? Anyway, that's a story for another time. That's a problem for future me.
Yep.
Future you hates you, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For good reason. Yeah. Mike, before we jump into this, it's good to talk to you. We've talked on Discord, but I think you and I haven't heard each other's voices since LVO.
It's true.
Where we kicked it off with, I think you got there. We were both there ahead of our respective groups, and so you and I just hung out for 3 hours.
A blind date.
Yeah, it was
for 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
and it ended with me saying, "You know what? I'm hungry, so I'm gonna leave."
Bye. Yep. So, yeah. Well, all right. We were trying to figure out what to do, because we are the sad that did not go to Alberta. And we thought it'd been a little while since we had done a bat rep, and we have been talking for quite a while about trying to do a crossover with Underworlds Underground. And this is kind of like a mirror to us sending some folks your way to talk Alberta. And so we said, Mike, what are you playing? Why don't you play it against us? And so we set that up, and we're going to talk it through. But Mike, what are you playing?
Yeah. So at LVO, after I won the most prestigious tournament that Underworlds offers, the Rivals tournament.
Yeah.
I was awarded with a warband of my choice, and there were multiple warbands to choose from, and I did not hesitate, and I selected Black Powder. And so Black Powder is, in terms of power, it's a bit underwhelming, but creatively, it's one of the most compelling warbands. I mean, you have a monkey. So step one, have a monkey, right? Step two, have an ogre pirate. Step three, have an ogre pirate that eats things, namely the other things in the warband, the minions, and then have a bird, a very angry bird. And when you put all of them together, I was just like, I don't care if they're powerful. I want to find ways to use them and enjoy them, because they're too creative to leave by the wayside. So that's what I've been playing. I've tried Void Curse with them. I've tried Beastbound Assault with. I've tried any of the decks that I thought might have a chance. And the two that I have come to really like are Rhymelock Relics and Hungering Parasite.
Excellent.
And so for this game, I chose the pairing of Black Powder and Hungering Parasite, a deck that I have named Black Spot.
Black Spot. Very nice. All right. So I agree. Like, this is a warband. They did receive an errata a little, quite a bit ago. It helped. It freed up some of that light fingered reaction where it doesn't have to be the one making the attack. Like they can. Or it's not even that, because it wasn't even restricted to the person making the attack had to do it, but they can do it even if the target is taken out of action, which was a problem. So they basically were given some more freedom with that, and just that it's like I don't want to disparage these guys by comparing them to Eyes of the Nine, but they have a mechanic that is, if not unique, like very, very rare, and that is the ability, like just on their cards, to break upgrades, and that's a scary thing.
Yes,
and so
I would say their uniquenesses are that breaking upgrades and the pushes. They have two warband members that push, and I like the push. I know some people prefer moves, but I like the push because you don't get a token. So you're free to charge after the push, which can send you deep into enemy lines if you need to. Yeah. So I think those mechanics are very powerful. And Black Powder's Grunderbus attack action is dang accurate right out of the gate. So it's 3 swords, and he inspires to 4 swords, which is ludicrous. Yeah. So I mean, there's stuff here, but the deck is very problematic, and so when you pick your pairing, you really have to rely on that alternate pair.
Yeah, I hear you. There are a ton of duds in that deck, and so you really need to find some help elsewhere. Phil, what did you take, and pourquoi?
Well, I have also been working on new things since Adepticon, and I've been trying to push myself outside of my normal I play order bounds, and particularly I have almost never played Death, so I've really been trying to focus on the Death warbands. And I've been doing a lot of Skinnerkin, but I've been wanting to try Zondara's. And from our Zondara's initial episode, we talked about you doing them with Daring Delvers, and I don't think I'd ever seen anyone do it yet. So I was like, well, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So chose to play them, figured I'll see how much exploring I can get up to.
All right. So let me ask this of each of you. How many times going to this had you played this warband with this pairing prior to this game?
None.
Okay, excellent. Phil.
Well, not only have I not played this warband with this pairing, this was my first time playing the warband.
Okay.
But I played against the warband, so I thought I knew what I was doing.
I've played, this has been one of my, I've been obviously skipping around on different things because everybody has, because it's that time in the meta. But I've played a fair amount of this warband, mostly with Fearsome Fortress. And so I look forward to putting my pinky out and telling you how wrong you are about all your plays here as I watch through your game.
I'm sure you'll be able to. No spoilers, but I think you'll be.
And
able
I will
to.
say that even though I hadn't played this pairing before, I've played. I mean, that's all I've been playing is Black Powder. So it was very easy to insert Hungering Parasite into this warband for me, because I was just so familiar with their mechanics. So even though I hadn't played this deck at all, it flowed really naturally when I played it.
That makes a ton of sense. Let me ask you both this, and we'll start with Mike again. Once you knew with the matchup, because I think step one is announce warband, and then announce if you have a plot card, which in this case you both did. What did you think about, okay, this is what I'm facing, here's what I'm keeping in mind when it comes to setting up the board, my game plan, that sort of thing, versus what your theoretical generic game plan is. So Mike, what did you think right out of the gate?
Yeah, so when I heard what Phil was playing, I was like, no, the new hotness, And then he said, but I'm pairing it with Daring Delvers. And I said, quoi? I had not seen that pairing yet. So I was very interested, and I started thinking through what I know about Daring Delvers and what I know about Zondara, and I just thought to myself, okay, I'm going to have, number one, I'm going to want to try and put as many objectives in his zone as possible. That was my first thought. And the reason why was twofold. Number one, I want to be in enemy territory, and I want to be on objectives in enemy territory for some of my cards.
Okay.
And number two, if I can do that, it's going to reduce his exploration count. So that was my first thought was, okay, objective placement, I want to throw as many in his territory as possible. And just deal with that. Even though he can grave break him, look, he's going to be doing that anyway. I can't stop that. But what I could do is I could sit on him maybe and score some of my cards and be disruptive. And then the second thing kind of going into it that I was thinking about was, if, as with other Death warbands, if I can kill the leader, I have a good shot at winning. And I do have black powder who does hit for 3.
Yep.
The rest of my guys are pretty weak sauce, but you know what? After multiple activations, I might be able to do it. And I'll be honest with you, I just completely forgot about her heal. Spoilers. I just totally forgot about her heal. So that was probably bad math on my part.
I will say this as well, though, like uninspired, you still have a speed 5 flyer with a damage 1 grievous 1 and a speed 4 monkey with damage 1 grievous 1. If you can get 2 through and she does not heal, then she is in, from my side of the board, I'd be pretty terrified of getting smoked by one of these critters.
Yep. And I do have a damage 3 with a range 2 and move 3. So that's not nothing. So
no, not at all. Yeah.
So there is potential there. So I thought, okay, if I can take out Zondara and I can force him out of my territory to stay in his and then somehow be on objectives, maybe I have a shot at it.
Sure. Phil, what did you think? I imagine this is not only is it a warband and a pairing you haven't played before, but we don't actually see a ton of black powder.
Yeah. So I'd done some experimenting with black powder back after the errata dropped. So I knew that he cares a bit about objectives and wants to be able to really utilize the light-fingered stuff. So I was expecting a somewhat aggressive play. I was hoping to be able to be sort of counterpunch. The idea with Daring Delvers is that you can build up exploration without having to dive into enemy territory right away. So the hope was sit back, build up, grab objectives that I want, and then sort of like power up before I start sending for lane off to do horrible things. And knowing that he has the parasite, I know I have to worry about rerolls, and he's going to want to manipulate where the parasite fighter is. So if the opportunity were to present itself, I would want to be able to like send for lane to try and kill whoever's holding the parasite.
Sure.
And that was sort of my counterplay game plan from the start.
Yeah, I think for me, it's really timing when you make that kill, because you do it too early, you give them a chance to like restore their game plan. It does kind of put it on a knife's edge as far as the dice roll and that crucial, hopefully late round attack. All right, well, we're going to jump into it here. One of the first things that we do is a roll off. You guys roll nothing and nothing, which is real cool, guys.
Yep.
And then Phil gets it on the reroll. Phil, you had to decide whether to place the first board and have extra objectives or the second. And what did you pick and why?
I placed the first board because I want to have more of the objectives to control.
You threw down the Glacial Tomb. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And Glacial Tomb is something that came in Death Gorge. It is a pretty wide open board and a pretty even spread. That's a pretty good frozen era of Underworlds starting board. Gives you some flexibility. I've actually done this quite a bit with Zondara myself. Mike, you also come with the Glacial Tomb.
Yeah.
I'm going to do an aside here for a second because this last league, my son was bringing out Hexbane for the first time. His second game of the night, he played against Danielle, who is also rolling Hexbane. And so they were like, hey, it's a mirror match. And then they both put the same board out. And Emmett, I guess Danielle won the roll off and so started placing first. And then not for any strategic reason, but for the lulls, Emmett literally like mirrored every placement she did. So they were an exact mirror setup. Doing it all for the bit. That's my son.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Spider-Man memes all around.
Anyway, so we have 2 Glacial Tombs placed out here. Then Phil, you are the first to place. Tell me about your general strategy with placement, and I'll kind of cover overall how things end up.
My general strategy for trying to place tokens is that I was thinking I want a pretty even spread in my territory. And I did want 1 or 2 just across the line because as Daring Delvers, you do kind of end up having to be on feature tokens in enemy territory at some point. It's a good way to get additional glory, or exploration, not glory.
Okay.
But so I was hoping for like a full triangle and then like one or two right across the line. That was sort of the plan.
Okay. And then, Mike, we've already kind of talked about your general strategy, what you were thinking. All right. So the final state is that there are 4 objectives in Phil's territory and 1 just over the line in Mike's territory.
Yep.
Talk to me about your starting hands here, guys. There were some mulligans that happened. Mulligans are not the hands you draw into are what? Phil, let's start with you.
Yeah. So I sort of, the first hand that I had was basically unscorable. So I knew I needed to ditch it. I didn't have really anything reliable to get the ball rolling. So I ended up with ever searching, which is great to have right away. Being able to grave break twice in the same phase and surging for that. And I had Dreamer's Respite, which is a nice one to have round 1, just because it's pretty reliable in round 1 if you have it. That's Zondara and Verlaine are both alive. And then one that I'm not super happy to see is Cautious Venture. This is exploration count of 3, but you have to have 2 friendly fighters in enemy territory, which I feel fine about later, but I don't want it in round 1. So it's just a little bit unfortunate, but I feel okay with the other 2, especially the Surge. And then for power cards, I did end up with a lot of upgrades on the mulligan, which is a little unfortunate, but it's how it goes. So I've got Cursed Strength and Cursed Flesh. Cursed Flesh feels pretty nice here. Prospector, which is one that lets me place as a reaction an available feature token, and it makes the fighter an explorer. You do get a charge token after you do that, but most of the time you'll do it after a charge or something, so it's fine. Yeah. And then 9 lives, which in this matchup is basically just this fighter is an explorer. There's very few lethal, or there's no lethal hexes, and then there's very few gambits that are going to be dealing damage.
Sure.
But then I did have Zone of Control, which I felt really good about, because it let me really lean into that counterpunch game plan.
Zone of Control being anyone who is on a starting hex or a feature token is on guard. Is that correct?
Yes, that is. Okay. That is the one, and it is a domain, so it becomes more relevant these days now that people are playing Rhymeworm.
Mike, what did you end up holding?
Yeah, so for my objectives, I have Temporary Reprieve. Score this immediately after an activation step in which your Warband's Bane of Heroes upgrade was broken. And I like that because in my power card hand, I have Lure of Power. Choose a fighter that has 1 or more Bane of Heroes upgrades that's on an objective. Break that fighter's Bane of Hero upgrade. So I'm looking at that card combo and I'm saying this is an auto score. I should not have problems scoring that. And then for my other objectives, I have Gold Diggers. So that is actually a black powder card, and it's a great one because you score it after any power step if 2 or more friendly fighters on our feature token, and one of those is in enemy territory. Well, I have 4 landing spots in Phil's territory for that one, so that feels real good. And then I have Bane's Triumph, and that's a friendly fighter with your Warband's Bane of Heroes upgrade is in enemy territory, and there are no other friendly fighters in that territory. I'm feeling good about that too. I can probably make that happen. For my power card hand, I have some upgrades. Divine Fortitude, which is okay to see right now. Weakened Soul, which... spoilers, I misplayed, but is a very good card. -1 wounds to an enemy if they have your Bane of Heroes upgrade, and you can play it on them. It's incredible. And then Instinctive Reprisal, which, side note, is an amazing upgrade on Black Powder because you can't just go in and chip damage on him. It'll just start dealing damage to the enemy. And so
start throwing it back.
I really like having that early, because if I get that on Black Powder early, that means you got to go in hard on him to not endure those pings over and over again.
Yeah. The only thing I hear there that I'm wondering if it'll come up is I think Temporary Reprieve specifically needs it to break during the activation, an activation step. And then Lure of Power is something that happens at the power step. But we will see. So
I think I probably misplayed that then.
Well, we'll find out. It's there's a lot of little bits and pieces here, but we start the deployment, and Phil scatters his zombies. Phil, I noticed your zombies all kind of move towards the back. So you've got Toil, Crack Tomb, and Pick towards the back of the board, and then Zondara way at the back. Tell me about your thought process there.
Yeah, so this is, like I was saying, I was planning on trying to be, drawing him in, doing a counterpunch where it's like I'll have the zombies just shuffling around doing their thing, and then Zondara's safe. Verlaine is sort of centered so that he's in a position to charge whoever comes in when I need him to. So in playing this game, I think I realized that I probably could afford to actually put one zombie further forward so that they can cross the line. But being the first time ever playing, I didn't actually think about that.
Sure. Do you include, there's the Rest from the Realm, which is a surge for grave breaking in enemy territory. Is that in your deck?
It is in the deck. I didn't have it in the hand though. So I was not planning for it right away, especially because I knew Black Powder was probably going to be right up front, and that could be just a dead zombie right away.
And Mike, you've picked a deployment that has Black Powder front and center. Curiously, both Noblars are probably the next closest to the general, situation with the enemy. Mange, the monkey, is close to them, and Shriek is close to Black Powder. Tell me about that deployment strategy.
Yeah, so I was thinking of almost like forming a vanguard with Black Powder at the tip of the spear, so to speak. My thinking on this was, look, I can send Black Powder into enemy territory. He's in range of a couple objectives. If I can get onto those objectives, maybe I can score gold diggers. And then I'm going to force a question to my opponent, and that is, are you going to go all in on Black Powder and try and remove him? Or are you going to let Black Powder just hang out in your territory and be a problem all game long? And so my thinking in the deployment was, how quickly can I get Black Powder in someone's zone to be a problem?
That makes sense. So you don't actually have to sign the Bane of Heroes upgrade with your Hungering Parasite until deployment is done. However, I imagine you're deploying with a concrete idea of who is going to have that. Who do you plan to give that to?
My plan is to give it to Mange and get him on the objective with a push instead of having to waste a movement to get to the objective, and hopefully try and score temporary reprieve.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, then we have a roll off here, and this was a 5 fighters versus 5 fighters. Phil, you finished first, so you've got the free crit.
Yep.
Which just barely is enough. I think you end up on 2 crits, 2 doubles versus Mike's 2 crits. What do you decide to do and why?
I decided to take it. Reason being because I have the Zone of Control in hand, and I would like to go first, Grave Break, and then Zone of Control to be set up very defensively.
Okay, that makes sense. I will say, like, my default is almost always to go second, and it needs a compelling reason to not do that. But that seems like a pretty decent call for it. So let's see how that goes. So you do start with a Grave Break pick. Grave Break something right underneath Toil, which makes it easy for Toil to then, if nothing else is happening, go right there. When you Grave Break, obviously no one's dead, so you are going to unearth rather than exhume.
Yep.
And this is spoiler alert. It's I can't see what card, but I'm gonna guess you're digging for salvaged intelligence.
That is exactly what I was digging for. Yeah. And then took a while to figure out how to actually do this with the deck. It's a little clunky here, and I somehow ended up like losing 2 of the cards when I tried to put them back. Like my deck, it was just missing 2 cards, and I had to like back up and fix it.
I have 2 words for you, Phil. 2 words: light fingered.
Yeah.
He's already doing it. He hasn't even swung and he's light fingered it.
And something that I realized after the game is that I was supposed to be revealing the upgrades that I was getting with Exhume, and I didn't do that. So
yeah, I mean, I think mechanically that's just to prove that you're not like drawing something that you shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But then he goes on to the power step and you pop that zone of control, that domain right away.
Yep.
So for Lane, who starts on 2 dodges and now on 2 guard, two on guard, you've got a pretty good defensive set here. So even if Black Powder decides to come in, I think that's a pretty strong opener. Mike, you got anything you'd respond with in the power step here?
I don't believe so.
It doesn't look like it. So do you start off real timid here or what?
Yeah, I'm super nervous and I don't know what to do. Actually, that's not true. I think my exact words to Phil were, okay, I'm going to make a YOLO charge with Black Powder into the middle of the board. And so he does. Okay, so here's my thinking, guys. The attack was just a bonus. I wanted to get Black Powder on that objective, on guard in enemy territory, because he played zone of control. And I'm thinking, my whole thought is, I want to score gold diggers. That's my thought. But so I come in and I'm throwing 2 hammers at Furlane, who's on guard on 2 defense dice, 2 hexes away.
Yep.
I roll 1 success on 2 dice.
Yep.
Furlane,
unfortunately, rolls nothing at all.
Yep.
Which really puts a little bit of the pressure on. There's no drive back because Furlane is on guard, but Furlane is now 1 away from dead, which is real scary.
Yep.
So let's talk about this.
Okay.
Because I in my mind's eye, my whole goal was just get Black Powder on the objective, and I took a very low percentage attack on Furlane. Might have been better to move, and then I would have had, I could do some gunshots or whatever. But the fact that it landed, I think, colored the rest of this round. Like, it just changed some of the things that I was going to do. I'm not sure if it changed what Phil was going to do, but it was just,
what absolutely did.
Yeah.
And I told Phil after the game, I'm like, so I did the math on that attack, Phil. It was less than 32% chance to land.
I'm looking at it right now. It is 32% on the head to land that hit.
And I think the only other side note on this move is that that did allow me to push Shriek into no man's land. So now he's threatening any position on the board, hanging out in no man's land on 2 dodge.
So, I'll say what I like about this a lot. I know it's low percentage. And as I was seeing you make that play, I was like, as a Zondara player, I maybe kind of like that, because I maybe can tear down Black Powder. The thing is, by landing that 3 damage hit, you put so much pressure on Zondara, who doesn't have great action efficiency early on. Phil's got one of the ideal objectives in hand, which is that ever searching. So if he can spare the action, he's got a free, right now, Toil could just pick his nose and Phil's got another glory.
But that was originally the plan.
But that means that Furlane has to hang out with 1 health left, and sure, he's still 2 dodge on guard, but Shriek is in range for a charge, and you're like, oh man, can I afford to risk Furlane just getting smoked here just to get that 1 more? And so putting early pressure on Phil's action efficiency is a pretty aggressive but powerful move.
Yeah.
Looks like both pass on the power step. Phil, what do you go with here?
So I wasn't sure what the right play was, but I thought that Shriek or KG or Pegs all had, well, not Pegs. Pegs is too far away, but KG or Shriek could come in and just finish off Furlane. Shriek was the more likely one to do it because he's 3 Fury, so he's pretty accurate. And I figured, as much as I don't want to put Zondara in danger, losing Furlane on activation 2 would basically be game over. So what I do is I decide to move Zondara into a position where if he wants to attack Furlane, at least I'll have additional support as well. because Zondara will be there. And Zondara moving forward does give me the opportunity to at least try for the heal on Verlaine. So I charge her forward to just try and put some damage on Black Powder, just to try and make this move forward, not just like walk forward and heal.
Yeah. It's a tough one because you figure you can come forward and heal, but likely the only way Shriek is pushing a hit through if Shriek makes his attack on Verlaine is probably with a crit, because Verlaine's still that 2 dodge on guard. And in that case, Grievous takes place, and then the heal is irrelevant. And it's tough because once you've charged, then even if you do put on that intelligence later, then you're in a hard spot.
Yeah.
So, but not terrible. Zondara is only making a 2 fury into 1 block attack here for 2 damage if it lands. She rolls a crit into nothing. So she does get to lay 2 damage onto Black Powder. You have the opportunity to drive back. Do you choose to?
I don't.
Oh, no, you don't.
He's on guard.
He's on guard himself.
Yeah.
You do manage to heal 1 on Verlaine. So you are saying, hey, if anyone's going to kill my boy Verlaine, it's got to be with a crit.
Yeah.
And that's when I remembered that Zondara can heal.
It's incredible. Some of these games I've healed so much on here. All right, Phil, you looks like you forego a power step, and so do you. Mike, what are you thinking on this next activation?
Well, unless I crit with Shriek, I can't get rid of Verlaine. Though there was a move I could do where I could fly over Verlaine, land on an objective behind Verlaine, and be really annoying. But I decided that was probably that I can't push my luck that far.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge pegs. I believe that's what I do. I charge pegs on Zondara, and then I push mange up onto that objective so I could score gold diggers.
And this is mange react after a friendly minion makes a move action, push up to 3 after must be within 2. So this is really good positioning work here. You're now sitting on 2, and to be honest, his zone of control, good for Phil, good for you too, because mange is also 2 dodge on guard on the spot he wants to be.
Yeah, that's the side benefit. I mean, he's staggered from the parasite, but just getting pegs up there to take a why not attack and then scoring a glory.
And guess what? Why not lands?
Yeah.
Zondara takes 1. Normally, that's not really a big deal for Zondara. However, she's already charged, so her opportunity to heal has now expired for the turn, unless Phil gets the is it Undying Love upgrade in hand?
Yeah.
So Pegs crit hits and then inspires, which it has been a while since Pegs has inspired, but that felt real good at that point.
So this is a thing where like you can light fingered even if your target does not have an upgrade, because you get to get yourself a swag.
Yep.
Correct.
So,
and so Black Powder goes up to 2 swag.
Yep. And then, which gives Black Powder a route to inspiring, which is also really big. So do you looks like you go off in the power step here?
Yeah, so I do play that upgrade or that power card that breaks the upgrade off of mange, scoring temporary reprieve, which I couldn't have scored because, as Davey points out, it had to happen during the activation.
Sure.
But I do score gold diggers at the end of the power step for mange and Black Powder being on objectives.
Yeah. And that's another example of how that zone of control actually kind of played into your favor here, because Black Powder would have been shoved off if not for that.
That's true.
We are seeing the 2 fury attacks really coming up big in this. All right, so that puts it to 2-0, and because you have broken your Bane of Heroes upgrade, you now have to reapply it. Where does it go?
Well, Pegs is adjacent to Zondara, so I play past the parasite, as Phil so lovingly called it on your cast, and I hand it over to Zondara because I figure putting Stagger on Zondara when she's so critical to the warband is huge.
Yep, that feels really horrifying.
Yep.
So
It sure was. I wasn't even considering that as an option until the power card came out, and then I was like, oh no, this is now very bad. It's also very bad because now she can't inspire.
Right. Which we ran into this inspire issue multiple times in this game where I tried to inspire a fighter and Phil's like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, you're right. And then, so that lack of inspire is actually really powerful. It's more powerful seeing it in action than reading it on the card.
Yeah, I agree. In the right spot at the right time. Like not being able to inspire Zondara is pretty rough. Not being able to inspire Zondara and having her permanently staggered is really rough for this warband. So, this is a solid play. Mike, what did you draw into? What objectives are you now holding?
So I'm holding Beyond Exhausted. So that's if the person with my Bane of Heroes upgrade has one or more move or charge tokens. Well, Zandara's already got one, so that's going to score.
Yep.
And then I draw into Powerful Plan, and enemy leader has your warband's Bane of Heroes upgrade. So I drew that after I applied. Yeah. I didn't know that was coming. And I drew that after. So now I'm sitting on 3 glory in the end phase just by applying the parasite to Zondara.
Well, and it's a good argument for like finding a way to get it on that enemy leader if you're including it. And with your extra push capability, you increase your odds of actually being able to end next to somebody. So that's strong. Phil, you're up next, and it looks like you're going with a lane charge. You go after pegs. Tell me why pegs. Is it just looking for that seed glory?
So I have 5 upgrades in my hand.
Oh no.
And so the choice was between go back to the original game plan of just try and do more grave breaking so I can score this surge.
Yeah.
But I am very worried still that Verlaine might just end up dead if I don't do something with him. So I figure go in charge, try and get pegs away from Zondara so that there's not a supported attack on Zondara, and just see what we can do here.
Okay. So we go into pegs. Pegs is actually staggered because he's standing next to Zondara, who he just infected.
Yep.
And you get a single crit, reroll into a support. So your crit success, that means pegs, who... Hey, he's inspired.
Yeah.
How many times have you gotten rolled 2 defense dice on pegs there, Mike?
Once.
Was this the only one time?
Yeah.
All right, good for you, pegs. Does not work. He dies.
Yep.
Sorry,
pegs. His moment of glory was short.
Pour one out for a real one. All right, so Verlaine picks up Phil's first glory with that. Phil, you choose not to spend that right away. Why is that? Do you have nothing that immediately?
Yeah, so the thought was between either playing out Cursed Flesh or Salvage Intelligence for future use, but I was like, there's no point in playing Salvage Intelligence yet because Verlaine might be dead. Yeah. And if he does die, then at least I can salvage it.
Sure.
And I didn't want to put Cursed Flesh out right away either because it does make one of the 2 that I put it on a large fighter. So I was waiting to try and see, hedge bets, see what happens.
Yeah. And I will tell you, if I can somehow bide my time on this and get another grave break and then go digging for Undying Love, that is huge right now.
Basically, if he misses the attack here, that's the plan.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. Mike, you are up with your 3rd activation. You charge in with KG on a staggered Verlaine because Verlaine is staying close to his gal.
I figure if I'm rolling 2 swords, I might as well roll it on someone who's staggered, right? So, and part of the purpose of this was to try and get as many people surrounding Verlaine and Zondara as possible. But I want to stay away from Zondara because I myself don't want to take the damage at the end of the round.
Yep,
so
makes sense.
I charge Verlaine because he's low, and I want to see what else I can put on him before the round is up.
Okay. So you do come in. You drag in mange off that objective now that you don't need it anymore. You get a little extra support. The Two Fury, Curse of the Two Fury comes in and you crit success. Which
at
means
this point, Phil and I started talking about the dice. I mean, it got so nuts. And I mean, that's my second Two Fury attack that's landed in round 1.
Yeah.
Yep. So Verlaine rolls no successes again.
Yeah, he rolls 2 doubles here, and Phil has got him positioned on a spot that is not a starting or objective, so he's not on guard for this attack.
Yep.
Which is kind of a big swing too. Actual dice facings aside, that's a big difference maker.
Yeah.
As far as the probable outcomes on this attack, that puts Verlaine on 1 away from dead once again, which is pretty scary.
And it also inspires mange.
Yep. And here's another argument for not having put any upgrades out, because if there were, they would have been broken by this attack here.
Fair. I didn't even think about that.
To the other flip of this is if Mange had decided to try to solo this and got a crit through, then Verlaine would just be straight up dead right now. Yep. But I think Mike was just looking for that, get that cluster idea. Mike looks like you put out Instinctive Reprisal on your big boy.
Yeah, so I mean, gosh, that is just an awesome upgrade for Black Powder.
Yeah. Phil, you play out Prospector. Tell me about this.
So I'm just trying to get Verlaine inspired at this point, because I'm figuring he's got a decent shot, because he's not dead now. So I can go and get the upgrade to heal him after my next activation. So now he's inspired. I'll be able to go and get him healed. So I figure I'll just do this now, and it sets me up for trying to have an explorer who can place feature tokens later on.
Okay.
That's really all that there is about that.
Okay. So Zondara gets this Prospector, even though she's not going to activate. That will inspire Verlaine. Doesn't actually do anything for his survivability here, because he's already at 2 dodge, so no change there. You do stroll pick up into objective 4, which is just your side of the midline. Kick objective 4 onto the midline, and then you grave break and presumably unearth Undying Love.
Yep. And score Ever Searching, so I'll have the glory to be able to play it.
Real powerful play scenario here, because you heal both Zondara and Verlaine 1, which is pretty nifty. Verlaine's still in danger of a possible mange crit kill.
Yep.
And mange is going to toss 3 dice with a reroll, so that's a little bit scary here.
Yeah.
And Mike, am I correct? That's what mange is going to attempt?
Yeah. He just stood there and swung because he's got ensnare as well. So,
oh, yeah, sure.
2 successes on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he manages to lay 1 damage in. So that dig for Undying Love was a real big deal. That does get you another successful attack, which tragically could have light fingered off Undying Love.
So
but
it does.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We kind of had to back up, but yes, it does.
Wow, that is huge though.
Yeah,
like that's a really big deal, because
Verlaine rolled no successes on any defense rolls in all of round 1.
What a chump!
And to Phil's credit, we did that. I inspired KG, which was really cool. I got another swag counter. I'm up to 4 swag, and so I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm like, and I think we were back down to the scoring phase or something like that. And I'm like, oh gosh, it should have ripped off that upgrade, but let's just ignore it, move on. And Phil's like, oh no, that's a huge deal. We should roll that back and remove it. So I appreciate that, Phil, for making up for my lack of attention to detail on that. So
yeah. I mean, it changes the game for sure. So I think
it's a big one, because that is the difference between some big healing in the next round here.
Yep.
And that's why Lightfinger is so scary.
Yeah.
But we do get to the end phase, and Phil, looks like because you went first, you'll score
Yep.
Dreamer's Respite. So 1, because both your lovers are alive, which brings you to 3 glory. It looks like you toss out the
Uncovered
3 Surge
Secrets.
3. Yeah.
So that's
R.I.P.
A bit of a one. It's bad to see it in round like that early, and then 2, it's actually just kind of a bad card to probably run anyway. It's not impossible to score, but like you kind of have to have things go pretty well for you to be able to score it, and things are not going well.
Yeah, you kind of need the time, right?
Yep.
Like if Mike was sitting back a little bit more, then maybe you think, hey, I've got a chance at this. What is your exploration count at right now? You've placed 2.
So it would have been 2, but he has a fighter on a feature in my territory, so it goes back down to 1.
Okay. You have 1 glory to spare, and you play out Salvaged Intelligence finally, and then at that point, you guys realize that Undying Love should could have been broken. Yeah. Looks like you toss 9 lives, and then you draw up. So what does your new hand look like?
Yeah, so the new hand is looking okay, but so I get Tireless Revenants, which is just you have a token on all of your minions, which is not great, but it's at least reliable. And then Pathfinders, which is very good to see here, because it'll be just a matter of Gravebreak once. And then in the power hand, I kept Cursed Strength and Cursed Flesh, because I think they're both pretty good. And then I drew into Temporary Haven, which can increase my exploration count in the power step. And then I got Cobbled Corpse to try and be able to revive one of the zombies as soon as they die. Mm-hmm. And then I got Flame Wisps, which felt pretty decent here.
Yeah. As for board state, you do have Verlaine is sitting he's next to Zondara. Actually, Zondara, did she damage herself?
Yeah, because otherwise Verlaine would have died.
Yeah. So rather than kill her bow, she damages herself. That means she's within kill shot range of Black Powder.
Sure is.
Who's 2 hexes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, everything's horrible right now.
Does this deck include Broken Heart?
It doesn't, but it probably should. But see, I'm still just learning how the warband works. I thought for sure I'd be able to play more defensively, but I'm like being pressured right from the get-go. I've got no time.
Sure.
Black Powder is S tier. That's all I'm going to say. I'm only going to say it one time. Black Powder is S tier. That's it.
All right. It's recorded on permanent audio. It must be true. All right. Well, then, Mike, you score, as we mentioned that you had Beyond Exhausted was definitely going to score because Zondara had a charge token on her. So that gets you to 3 glory, and then all the way up to 5 with your Powerful Pawn because you have that on Zondara.
Yeah, there was. Honestly, that was card draw. That wasn't strategy. I drew that after I put it on her, so it just was luck. Yeah.
What is the one objective you still hold, and do you choose to discard it?
No, I keep it. Bane's Triumph, a friendly fighter in your warbands with the Bane of Heroes upgrade is in enemy territory, and there are no other friendly fighters in that territory. And I thought with the way that the board state was looking, that could be something that scores for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Then you let's see, you have the option to play out or discard upgrades, and looks like you just toss Divine Fortitude. That's the one that prevents you from taking damage from the Bane of Heroes upgrade, and then can inspire somebody if it breaks. Tell me about that thought process.
I don't care if my fighters die.
Okay,
is the bottom line, and I just felt like it would be better to see more of the deck. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And I think the other piece is that, like, it'd be cool to inspire Black Powder, but you already, he doesn't get that much from inspiring.
Right.
And he actually already has a route to inspiring anyway. So I think that's a strong play. After you draw up, what does your hand look like?
I have Treasure Hungry, so I just have to be on feature tokens, which is an end phase score 1. And then I've Driven by the Curse. So my Bane of Heroes upgrade fighter has to make a successful attack action, which means I have to get the Bane of Heroes back from Zondara, which sort of, and I drew Tragos Grease, which is one of Black Powder's best upgrades, and Despairing Strength for +1 damage or Grievous. So this sort of just my strategy all coalesced to kill Zondara as soon as possible. That was my strategy going into this round. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's real solid. I think there were a ton of factors going into Phil's positioning, but I think if he has this to do over again, he maybe tries to not end Zondara within counterattack range here.
Yep.
Well, it was tough to do because Black Powder's in the middle of the board, and he was on guard all the first round. I mean, there was really nowhere for him to go, which was the point. I wanted to try and put some pressure in the middle.
Yep. Makes sense. On the roll-off, Mike takes it on a couple of singles, and this is a very consequential attack. Zondara cannot be inspired. She would have been, except for Mike's shenanigans, not only breaking an upgrade off of Verlaine, but Zondara having to sit with the Bane of Heroes on her. So she is doubly uninspired. Mike, I think it's pretty understandable. You're going to take this. You have a no downside 3 damage swing coming from Black Powder.
Believe he's attacking Verlaine, though.
Yeah. All right. We got real excited about this, but it ends up being a looks like a mange attack into Verlaine.
Yeah, with ensnare. So my thinking on this was the Black Powder has a 2-hammer attack going into Zondara for free. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to charge him out and bring Sleek over because I need more action efficiency. So I took the mange 3 Fury supported attack on Verlaine to hopefully just get rid of him. And then I can work on Zondara.
I think that makes sense.
Andy was staggered. So
Yep. Because that'll still be available, and Phil is not threatening enough damage to actually take Black Powder out at this point.
Right.
So that will still be there. That means that you had a crit and 2 successes into Verlaine, who rolls a crit and no successes back and perishes.
Yeah.
Bringing the score to 6-3. And it is looking a little bit dire here. Now it's got to be Zondara really turning it on, making some stuff happen, and healing herself as fast as she possibly can.
Yep.
Mike, it looks like you get to play out one of the coolest upgrades in this deck.
Yeah, I greased the monkey, man.
Yeah. Troggoth Grease goes out. Art matching art. It's on mange. Mange is now 3 dodge on guard. Good luck ever killing that dude.
Yep.
Phil, you can't spend any upgrades. You don't play out any gambits. What is your counter to that kind of devastating opening?
I don't remember. I think it was So it was that I wanted to just get Zondara away from Black Powder.
It's tough because, like, if you sit still, you can maybe attack him and drive him away, but you're still only on 2 Fury.
Yeah.
And his 2 range cleaver attack is a big deal. So you bomb past into enemy territory, and you set up for an attack, a 2 Fury attack into mange. But guess what? Double crit.
Yeah. So there's a couple of reasons for this play. I still have Cautious Venture in hand. I wanted to get away from Black Powder. I still have the Parasite on me, so I have a reroll wherever I go. So I'm closer to 3 Fury than 2. And so I just figure, I don't know, it's been working for Mike. Why don't I try it? So I just dive bombed in with 2 Fury, and it worked. So it picked up the kill on the 3... or the 2 dodge on guard, 3 dodge on guard mange.
3 dodge on guard. Walks in and double crit.
Beauty. And, Smoke'em, you have the chance to heal yourself. It looks like you choose to.
So I use Prospector because this will allow me to drop a block text between me and Black Powder.
Okay.
It will also increase my exploration count. And because Zondara is an explorer, it means that I'll be able to score Pathfinders.
Very nice.
That was a really good play.
Yeah, I did not see this coming. So like one of the problems here is that you had positioned yourself in a spot where Black Powder is going to use his 4 swag counters to take shot after shot at you. The obvious play here, and the one I was expecting, is that you heal yourself 1 to prolong your life. But what you choose to do instead is make it so, hey, Black Powder, you want to take a shot? You're going to have to charge at me, and you're going to have one go at it.
Yep. And then because I'm on a feature token in opposing territory, I can play Temporary Haven to increase my exploration to 3. So now if assuming that she can survive, Cautious Venture is in play.
All right. At this point, Mike plays out Weakened Soul for -1 wound.
Now, this was a misplay.
Okay.
Because there's no reason to put it on now. I can do damage on Zondara and then put it on, and if she's down to 1, she dies.
I see. Sure.
And I play it totally forgetting that Zondara has a +1 wound power
upgrade available.
Yep.
Which are we about to see? We do. So Zondara plays out Cursed Flesh. And is now still 3 away from dying.
Yeah.
It goes to Mike's second activation, and he's going to go all chips into the middle, make a charge of Black Powder, try and finish this thing right now.
Yep. And he
so I bring Shriek to support. And he makes a swing on 2 hammers with a support. And she staggers.
We have a little backup here where Phil remembers that he could have scored Pathfinder, so we score that. So score is currently 5 for Zondara, 6 to Black Powder. The attack roll is 1 success, 1 miss with a reroll, turns into 2 successes, which means Zondara is on a crit to live.
Yep. It's not going to happen.
And that does not happen, and Zondara perishes.
Yep.
And that's got to feel pretty rough.
It felt very rough. I was really hoping that maybe I could get lucky and Black Powder wouldn't be able to take her out, but no dice. So at this point, I've got 3 lonely zombies that only know how to do one thing.
Yeah. They can grave break and they can unearth. They can't exhume anymore because Zondara is not alive.
Yep.
So your next one is Toil. Grave breaks, shoves 4 into enemy territory, which will give you the chance for rest from the realm if that comes up. You technically get to dig for an upgrade. What do you pick up?
Yeah, I go and I pick up the Excavated Bludgeon.
That's a good one if all you got left is zombies. So,
by the way, the Bane of Heroes upgrade goes on to KG when Zondara dies.
That's a good call. Yeah. Tell me why KG. Any particular reason? I'm
going to run him into enemy territory and try and score the card that I have in my hand, the Bane's Triumph. That's my goal. And I don't want to put it on Black Powder because he's immobile, and I don't want to put it on Shriek because I want Shriek inspired.
Sure, that makes sense. Phil has a ping, which this is Flame Wisps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Probably wish you had a chance to use it when Zondara was still alive, but it still goes off.
Yeah.
Chipping a damage onto Shriek, no big deal. Mike, it's over to you for your third. Shriek comes in, tries to kill Toil with her crit possibility.
Yep, and does.
Yeah, my thinking there was to get Shriek on an objective as well. And because I'm still trying to score Treasure Hungry. So I thought, cool, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Oh, no pun intended. That was epic. And I moved Shriek onto an objective and just thought, man, if I can take out Toil in the meantime, go for it,
Sure. This would normally be the end of Toil, but actually Phil's got Cobbled Corpse. So Toil pops back up on an objective or within 1 of an objective in enemy territory or in friendly territory. Sorry.
Yeah. So pop him up in the middle so he's within reach of throwing some attacks on Black Powder. But I think if I'm remembering correctly, I decided to put a charge token on him. And I actually ended up moving him back because I was like,
I think this is a good call because you could put him to swing at Black Powder, but it's a 2 fury, 1 damage attack. That's probably a lost cause. So 2
2 Fury 2 damage once he's inspired, but that's still not good.
Yeah. So it comes back around to Phil.
Yep.
Score is still 5 Zondara, 8 for Black Powder. Black Powder's got 2 damage on him, so it's a little bit of a big ask to maybe drop Black Powder.
Or is it?
But there's a lot of glory available there, and with the bludgeon, it's not totally out of the question.
Nope.
Phil, that bludgeon is not on anyone yet. You choose to walk Crack Tomb onto another objective.
Yep.
Presumably to Grave Break. Tell me about that.
So we're chasing 2 things. We need Tireless Revenants, which is have a token on each of the zombies. And so far, I only have the one on Toil, so I need to move them both.
Okay.
And in doing so, I can also pick up more exploration. And I surged into Fearless Explorer, which is just score in the end phase for having exploration count of 5 or more.
Okay. And what's your exploration count at now?
It is 5.
Excellent. So you're still making progress despite your head 2 being out. You do get the chance to unearth. What do you pick up?
I go and get the last available in-faction upgrade, which is Amberbone Infusion.
Oh, that actually plays nice with these guys.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, you got 1 left, and it's KG, and KG dies an objective deep in Phil's territory. What's going on there?
So my thinking was I can score both Treasure Hungry and Bane's Triumph in the end phase if I get him onto that objective. Now, in the scoring phase, I do score those items, but then Phil and I both remember KG should not be inspired. And KG's move goes down 1 when he's not inspired. So I end up just backpedaling and say, let's just assume I discard that. Let's subtract a glory from my total. And that's how we resolved it.
Okay.
So we just moved him off of there, and I lost a glory and lost that card, and it was all fine. So
that makes sense. Phil, your last one this round is pick, doing 1 more Grave Break.
Yep.
That's getting you on 3 for 3 having tokens, which gets you some glory here. And after the end phase, so Phil, you scored, like you said, Fearless Explorer for 1, Tireless Reverence for 1. Mike, you managed to get your 2 glory for having just your Bane of Heroes in enemy territory and no one else. And we will end on 7 to 10 is how we land after that. So still pretty tight. We ended up with the bludgeon is sitting on Crack Tomb, who also has cursed strength. And we have Toil, who is perhaps the most vulnerable zombie right now. And he has the Amberbone infusion, the 2 block. Any thought, Phil, to putting that on the guy who's got the 3 damage attack?
Some, but I figured I might just need to have Toil do more work later, because the problem that I have right here is that if I want to be able to kill Black Powder, it's probably just going to have to be through luck.
Sure.
And so I'm loading up to do sort of the one last hurrah with a 2 Fury 4 damage attack, but I'm going to have to hurt myself on that charge no matter what. So I kind of figure don't put the defensive upgrade on him.
Say, for the record, Cursed Strength should only increase the damage on an attack that is on your fighter card. It can't increase the attack of bludgeon.
You're right.
But right now, your way forward is to try to kill Black Powder. Mike, what is your way forward that you're planning on?
To not have Black Powder killed. I mean, it's 10 to 7 right now. And in this board state, he's got a 4 damage attack, and Black Powder already has 2 wounds on it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, and my objective cards they're fine. I might be able to score 1, but if he kills Black Powder, that's probably going to lock me out of some stuff, because I'm only going to have then Shriek and KG, and he can down Shriek. Like, Shriek's only on 1. I mean, he can down them both. They're wimps.
Yeah.
So my thinking was, can Black Powder survive? Because if he doesn't, I probably lose this game. And he is within charge range of Crack Tomb dealing 4 damage.
That's fair. Right now, the Bane of Heroes is on Shriek?
No, it's on KG. Oh, wait,
all right.
wait. Is it? Yeah. It's on... No. It's on Shriek.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because I broke it. That's right. I broke it and put it on Shriek.
tenacious resilience.
Yep.
And the thought might be that Shriek with 3 dodge might be able to tank a hit there. So
that's the thought. The other thought is I have to make a successful attack with Driven by the Curse to score it with my fighter with the Bane of Heroes. And I'm not putting this on black powder for rerolls. And so I have 3 Fury with Shriek. So my thinking is maybe I can get that done with Shriek.
That makes sense. All right. So we go to a roll-off. We have, looks like Mike wins that. Mike, what do you lead off with?
So I move Black Powder into firing range of Cracktoon because I am deathly afraid of him. And then I trigger Shriek's movement to move him up against Cracktoon. So I not only get supports, but I stagger Cracktoon because Shriek has Bane of Heroes.
Sure. And that means you are making a 2 Fury support or 2 Smash supported.
3 Fury. I'm shooting at him actually because it's more accurate.
All right. Excellent.
So it's a 3 Fury with a reroll and supports.
You come up with 1 success, which means there's a chance. Whoops. And he gets it. Yeah, big time. All right. So Phil is still seeing daylight. There may be a way forward.
There might be.
Cracktoon gets knocked back, still clutching his.
Pull him back. I think I decided that I want to keep him next to Shriek.
That makes sense.
There's another play coming here that makes me mad.
This is Malefic Siphon. So Shriek presumably heals the 1 in order to lay 1 on Cracktoon.
Yep.
That's a real good card.
It's a great card.
Mike, you managed to score Thwarted Destiny.
Yep, because when he played the Bane of Heroes onto Shriek, it was on an Inspired Fighter.
Yep,
I see. Yep,
that was another played that. Now that I remember.
And then Mike, Phil's maybe seeing, hey, I've got a chance. I could still make this happen. And then a hasty shot, a card everybody knows really well, but just in case they don't, tell us what it might be.
Yeah, so let's Black Powder make a ranged attack action in the power phase at -1 dice if I discard a power card. Well, in this situation, I will pay any power card to get that extra shot to try and get Cracktoon off the table.
Makes sense. Here comes that shot. It is 2 successes because you get a success and a support.
Yeah.
And guess what? Cracktoon crits out. Cracktoon's not going down.
not today. Cracktoon's on a mission.
Yeah. Will you do some exploration, some Daring Delver sort of stuff, significant find?
Yeah, just to up the count again.
Yep. And then, Mike, you did manage to score Broadside. That's your second or subsequent Grunderbus.
Yep.
So,
and that's one of the reasons I have that card, that hasty shot card in there. It's an easy route to Broadside.
Sure. This makes it 7-12. Phil, who has decided that Cracktoon is totally invincible, decides that his first activation is going to be with Toil. Walks in. Toil makes a attack. Do you remember Toil, who's now 2 away? Is he attacking Shriek?
He is attacking Shriek because Black Powder's charged.
Yeah.
Shriek is adjacent to Cracktoon, who has the Bane, or no, Shriek has the Bane of Heroes. So I've got a reroll.
You got a reroll.
And I've got support. So I just figure I've got a pretty good shot here. Let's see if we can do it.
Now I know why that Malefic Siphon hurt just that much more.
Yeah.
So you managed to crit in and make it happen.
Down goes Shriek.
3 attacks this game, I tell you.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know that Toil had 2 damage as an inspired side. So there's a kill from the zombie who knew it was even possible.
And you still can activate Cracktoon at a later and Black Powder's charged out. So I'm sweating right now because I know I'm up 4 glory. If he kills Black Powder, that's 2. And if he can get to KG, which is not hard, that's going to lock me out of any other scoring.
Yeah. All right. All to play for. What's up from you, Mike, here?
Yeah. So I decide that in the power step, you mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know what I do in the power step.
It looks like you consider some options and don't go with any of them, and then KG makes a charge.
Sounds normal. Yeah, KG charges onto an objective because Crack Tomb has 1 wound left, and KG has been on fire. Now, I had to uninspire him because I gave him the Bane of Heroes, so he's no longer inspired. So again, we're throwing a 2 Fury attack out at Crack Tomb to hopefully finish him off.
Looks like 1 success.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And
Crack Tomb dies to like a grappling hook.
Yep.
After tanking blunderbuss after blunderbuss to the face, Crack Tomb takes a grappling hook to the back of the head and dies.
Yeah.
My problem was I was rolling 3 Fury with Black Powder, and I should have been rolling just 2 Fury because apparently those attacks are more accurate.
Yeah, Mike, that's a rookie mistake I would expect you to not be making anymore, but I'm glad you're learning. So so I think that probably clinches it here. It's now 8 for Zondara's and 13 for Yeah, and then Phil, you're just kind of making a couple remaining grave breaks to try and play some stuff out.
So the plan is to still try and score Cautious Venture and Life and Death. But that requires getting pick into enemy territory. So I figured I'll put out Dowsing Limb, which is this reaction that allows for you to scatter 2 and push up to 2 along the chain after your activation.
Yep.
Thinking he'll move 3 and then scatter into enemy territory, which is a fairly good odds. But I roll in such a way that I cannot scatter into enemy territory.
Whoops.
Yeah, so not great. So I do have to sort of push myself even further away from enemy territory.
Yeah.
I end up then burning my the whatever it's called, the one that lets you push all the zombies, Driven Lurch, so I can get them both in. But I'm now within 2 of Black Powder.
Yeah.
Feels pretty bad.
Black Powder pulls out the Grunderbus and guns down a zombie.
Yeah,
and that was for me Driven by the Curse too. So that was actually a bigger play than it looked. That worked out well.
Yeah, big time.
Dashing my hopes.
Yep, that does start to accelerate it away. It's now 8 to 14, and it's all over but the crying, and we kind of close out at an 8 to 15 score.
Yep. I know he gets more in the end phase here.
Even more. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we end up on a 11 to 18.
Yep.
Yeah. Subtract 1 for me because I shouldn't have scored that one early on. So it's like 17 to 11.
Gentlemen, no plan survives contact with the enemy. What was the biggest thing that you encountered in the game that you were like, okay, like I would try that again differently? We'll go with Phil first as the loser and the one most likely to have something to say in this.
Sure. So I definitely thought that I probably misplayed with both Zondara and Verlaine, although I wasn't 100% sure how because I positioned extremely defensively with On Guard. But I figured that I probably moved Zondara forward too fast, but it's tough. Because the deck does require you to sort of move into enemy territory, especially if you've got Cautious Venture. I did actually play this again against Skylar, and it went worse. So I don't need to go into it, but it was really, really bad.
Fair enough. Mike, any follow-up thoughts on the game?
No, in hindsight, I think the one thing that really changed the dynamic of this game is Black Powder landing that activation 1 attack. If that doesn't land, the pressure is not nearly as bad on Phil, and he can continue doing the zombie things, get the seed glory he needs, and move forward. I think that really colored the game. I think if that attack doesn't land, then it's much more of an uphill battle, and I think the score is either a lot closer or he surpasses me, or if Crack Tomb ends up doing Black Powder dirty, I think this still was possible for Phil to eke out some scores ahead of me. So it was close. Anything I would change? Yeah, I've already changed the deck twice since we played. I think there were some cards that just don't work well. And then I've created a more minion focused mixture for the Nemesis deck, which I'm excited to try. So those are kind of the changes. But in terms of my overall strategy, get rid of Zondara as soon as possible. That worked well. And I think one of the things I discovered almost by accident was if you can stick Bane of Heroes on their leader, that's a really good thing.
Yeah. So I would agree. I think that early pressure, I think that early hit kind of put Phil on the back foot. I think maybe the better play is to kind of stick with the plan, get that ever-searching glory, maybe even dig for Broken Heart, and then turn Zondara into a killing machine. Are possible? Like Zondara kind of panicked and moved forward into a vulnerable position, which ended up getting her the parasite, which is a problem, and it cascaded from there. But yeah, I would agree. There's a very early turning point in the game. But kudos to Phil for keeping it close. And it was
not only did he
to
keep
watch.
it close, I mean, he had a chance to, once he geared up Crack Tomb sitting in the middle of the board and Black Powder started looking like a weakling, and I just thought to myself, this game is about to turn, so it wasn't, I mean, not only did he keep it close, but he had a shot to win even in round 3 after losing Zondara and Frelaine early. So Phil played it really well, given that hit that Black Powder landed early.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you both for sharing the game with us. I'm going to give you a chance for any last thoughts before we do our outro here. Anything you want to share before we close it out?
So one thing that I learned playing against Skylar, because I wasn't sure of the ruling in this game, so I didn't do it right away, is that if you go and get the heal upgrade, they don't both have to be wounded to be able to play that out.
Right.
And so what I really should have done, and I kind of learned this lesson playing against Skylar, is that I should have stuck to the game plan, gotten the glory and the upgrade to heal Frelaine with the upgrade rather than moving Zondara to heal him.
Yeah.
And that would have been a lot better. It also would have given me an ability to pull Frelaine back
to
even
a safer
further.
spot.
So
sure.
That was mostly just like a misunderstanding of the card, because there's a very obtuse heal rule in this game where it's like, you have to be able to heal to be able to play the card. So it's like, oh, maybe I can't do this. So definitely something I've learned just in general about how, I guess, upgrades work, because I don't know there's any other upgrades that heal multiple fighters.
Yeah. Mike, any last thoughts?
2 thoughts. Number one, I loved playing against Phil. Just such a good player and actually helped me stay on track. So I just love playing against him. The other thought that I had was, when in doubt, YOLO 2 Fury attacks all over the board.
Right?
Because
I know
you'll never fail ever again.
Yeah, because that's what Black Powder's good at, guys. That's just what he's good at.
Well, it was really fun watching Black Powder and play, and especially like seeing that light-fingered pop off in like a pretty consequential way. That was pretty rad. Guys, I really enjoyed watching it. I hope it sounds like you had fun playing it, and we should do this inner podcast showdown again sometime.
I would love to.
Be it pink slips or bat reps here. All right, we're going to wrap it up. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. The best place is actually our Patreon. There is an invite in the show notes here where you can come talk Underworlds with all sorts of people coming in. Mike, if people want to talk to you, what's the best place for them to do that?
They can find me on Discord as Sleeksbowl. Just send me a message.
Yeah.
Be happy to chat with you.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say that we have not mentioned. That's the first time the 2 words Sleeksbowl have been said together. But you are now part of the Spent Glory blog, and that is going from strength to strength. That's a great thing to be part of. I think Fish does just tremendous work there. It's I'd say it's the premier blog out there right now. I think it is great work.
It's an honor for me to be a part of it.
Yeah. We, of course, are going to thank the Mortal Realms Network for having us on there. Thanks to the patrons who support that network in general, and us as part of it helps us get this out to you. Coming up, you should go listen to Underworlds Underground. Subscribe to them if you haven't, because there's going to be some awesome Alberta coverage there. We're going to have a sort of a combined forces thing happening there. Us locally, we're just going to keep doing our thing. we have not mentioned, but this is now I'm gonna put it out there. Hey, August 17th, come to Madison because our Madtown Throwdown, we have a World Championship qualifier for that. We will award first place. We'll get to go to the World Championships of Warhammer for Underworlds. And you come to that, we're going to give you the full Madison experience. Our awesome folks locally will help you, eat right, get somewhere good to stay. And we got a lot of fun stuff planned in and around that. More to come shortly. Gentlemen, you know what happens this time of the show. And Mike, I appreciate you staying with us for this, perhaps the most important part of the show. But it's the Flavitex quiz. This one, hey, guess what? It's attributed to Gorlock Black Powder.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
Not my ship, not my monkey.
I actually know this. Oh no, I actually know this. I read this the other day.
I'm gonna let you stew on it. I think I know what it is, but I'm gonna let you answer this one.
Not my ship, not my monkey. It is from Hungering Parasite, I think.
You are correct. It's the only Hungering Parasite card I could find that included both Black Powder and Hungering Parasite.
But I didn't include in my deck is the problem. Oh, I don't know what it's called. Phil, help me.
I believe it is called Not My Problem.
You are so close. It's their problem now. We're going to give you credit. So.
All right.
Oh, well played, Davey. Well played.
Your recommended listening for this episode is going to come from the incomparable Nina Simone, and it's Pirate Jenny, to give tribute to the pirate who won this particular matchup. For What the Hex, I've been Davey.
I've been Phil.
I've been Mike.
So I guess one thing that's...
Go ahead.
Oh, man. All right.
Generally, so actually I'm going to pause here. Is this how they're set up here? Is that the final spot, or do they know?
No,
okay.
I confused myself with Glacial Tomb because I thought my board was his board and his board was my board. And so, and then when he went to deploy, I'm like, wait, why are you deploying down there? That's my board. He's like, no, that's my board. I'm like, I'm an idiot.
Okay.
So